On Sunday morning, June 9th, 1912, a man named Josiah Moore and his wife Sarah Moore took their 4 children to Sunday school service. The children aged between 5 and 11. With them were also 2 neighborhood children that asked to stay the night with the family. Sarah was the director of this Sunday school service, and the children spent the day reciting speeches with their fellow service members. The services lasted until about 9:30 p.m. when everyone left and returned to their homes. It was a nice, fun day, and no one could have guessed that the Moore family and their 2 overnight guests would never be seen alive again. Around midnight, the person or people went to the backyard of the family's home and picked up Josiah's axe. They then proceeded to bludgeon to death every person in the house. Around 7:30 a.m. the next morning, Mary Peckham, a neighbor, noticed the Moore house was so quiet it seemed deserted. Mary then called Josiah's brother Ross to inform him of her worry. Ross arrived to the house around 8 a.m. and looked around. Downstairs on a bed, he found 2 bodies covered with bloody sheets. He then stepped back out of the house and frantically called the local hardware store to tell them to find the sheriff. When the sheriff arrived, he found all 8 people dead inside the house. He also found the axe used in the murders partially cleaned in the bedroom, leaning against the wall. There was also some weird things about this crime scene. There was a 4-pound slab of bacon found beside the bloody axe. They also found that the murderer or murderers rummaged through the dressers for clothing to cover all the mirrors in the house. All of the victims were in the bed with sheets covered their bodies, and all of their heads had been hit 20 to 30 times with the blunt end of an axe. One of the daughters had her nightgown pulled up, but it was determined that she had not been sexually assaulted. The town of Villisca held a funeral service for the 2 families on June 12, 1912, and thousands attended. The National Guard were even called in to block the streets for the hearses. There are a lot of theories as to who the murderer or murderers were, but it has never been proven. Whoever murdered these innocent people and destroyed 2 families were never caught. One main suspect was a reverend named George Kelly. He was a traveling reverend that had been to some states surrounding Iowa. He had also been committed to a mental hospital as a child. Kelly had been the reverend at the Sunday school service the families had attended hours before their death. He also had a reputation for very odd behavior. Witnesses also said that at 5:19 a.m. on the morning of the murders, Kelly boarded a train outside of town and told people about 8 dead souls back in Villisca, butchered in their beds while they slept. This was hours before their bodies were found. He even returned 2 weeks later, posing as a detective, and toured the house with real investigators. In 1917, a grand jury indicted Kelly, and he was interrogated while in jail awaiting trial. He signed a confession saying God had whispered to him, "Suffer the children to come unto me." Kelly later recanted his confessions and the trial proceeded. The jury deadlocked 11-1 for acquittal. A second jury was created, but it soon acquitted Kelly of the crimes, and no one else has ever been tried for this horrific mass murder.